Hi you guys, it's Dr. BT, and I just want to go over the menstrual cycle and do it practically. While I appreciate the article's depth and breadth of information, I just want to make sure you understand these basic concepts. So what we're going to do is I want you to look at how this goes. The top part is the Hpo axis, and we refer to that all the time, the hypothalamus, pituitary, and ovarian axis. And that's the part that fuels the whole follicular maturation, fuels the hormonal changes that cause changes in the menstrual cycle. So all of these systems work together. The Hpo works to cause the follicle to mature, and then when it matures, the corpus luteum continues to help the endometrial bed to have a nice suitable place for the fertilized ovum to sit and to grow. So what I would like to do is I would like to look at it from the top down. So at the beginning of the cycle is the menses, obviously. The first 5 to 7 days is menstrual shedding, or menses, or sloughing, or sloughing, however you like to say. And during that time, everything is very stable. There's GnRH is being excreted from the hypothalamus, and it's gonadotropin releasing hormone, and it starts the maturation process. So you can see at the very beginning we have a follicle that is beginning to mature. We have a stable body temperature, and we have very stable hormones. We can see that there is pulsatile follicle stimulating hormone here, and this pulsatile follicle stimulating hormone causes this follicle to mature. This is obviously called, the first half of the menstrual cycle is called the follicular phase, and the second half of the menstrual cycle is called the luteal phase. So during the follicular phase, we're having maturation of the follicle. The lining has shed, and now it's going to proliferate here at the very end when we have this rise in estrogen. So we can see we have these stable body temperatures, the maturing follicle, and then after the hypothalamus secretes gonadotropin releasing hormone, that signals the pituitary to release the follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. So you can see the dominant hormone of the follicular phase is estradiol, or estrogen. This estrogen also is not just secreted from the ovary, but also from the maturing follicle, which helps to trigger this big rise in luteinizing hormones, which is triggered at ovulation. So at ovulation, which is usually mid-cycle, you're going to have the well, first of all, you're going to have the dominant hormone in the follicular phase is estrogen. And then at ovulation, we're going to see follicle stimulating hormone peak, because we want it to be as mature as possible, and then luteinizing hormone, which causes the corpus luteum to secrete progesterone to continue to mature the endometrial lining so that it can be secretory when the ovum implants and becomes embedded in the endometrial lining. So at ovulation, we have these two peaks. Obviously, during ovulation, we're going to have a rise in body temperature. We will have middle Schmerz pain, which is pain at the ovarian site when it actually breaks through. This fertilized egg actually breaks through, gets entangled in the fimbriae, and goes into the fallopian tube for fertilization. And then we're going to have cervical mucus during this period. Cervical mucus helps the sperm transport from the vagina to the fallopian tube for fertilization. Okay, so then the second phase is called the luteal phase. This is because the corpus luteum, which was the outside of the maturing follicle, is secreting progesterone. And you can see the dominant hormone of the luteal phase is progesterone. Without this spike, we will not have a suitable bed in the endometrium for the fertilized ovum to sit. So you can see where this starts to go up, this progesterone goes up, you can see the maturation in all the secretory vessels of the endometrium. This triggers the release of a blood supply to the fertilized ovum for oxygen transport and nutrition. So we need this rise in progesterone to get this nice bed prepared for the fertilized embryo. And you can see there's another short little bounce in estrogen. It's definitely not as much as the first, but there is a rise. And so if the embryo is fertilized, then it will come down the fallopian tube, and in about 10 days it will lie in this bedding of the endometrium. Usually when it embeds here, it breaks these little blood vessels, and the woman will usually spot. She may think it's the beginning of her period and it will stop. It's because it's spotting. Now, if she gets pregnant, these corpus luteum will continue to secrete estrogen and progesterone until the placenta is well developed and takes over at the end of the first trimester. So these hormones will go up. You will see both of these hormones go up. This lining will stay exactly like this. If she does not get pregnant, this corpus luteum will degenerate, and you will see the hormones begin to go down. You will see estrogen go down, and you will see progesterone go down. This is premenstrual syndrome, and this fall in hormones causes ischemia of the vascular bed. When there was no implantation of an ovum and these hormones began to fall, this tissue became ischemic, and this downward spiral of hormones triggered the new menstrual phase. So when this becomes ischemic, this will fall. All of this will start completely over again. It is a negative feedback. If this goes up, everything stops. We don't have any of this. We don't have menses. So when people say they had a period during pregnancy, there is no way, because they would lose this lining, and this is where the embryo is embedded. So very, very important. If positive feedback stops this, negative feedback, when this falls, starts the process over. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and please take the quiz. Thank you.